the setup below and given the density of the liquid, which of the following can be determined? So, using the setup below first, ano ba yung makukuha nating quantity? When we have a graduated cylinder, ano yung minimeasure nating value? Or ano yung minimeasure nating quantity ng substance?
Milliliters po.
Millimeters, that's correct. And ano yun? Ano siya?
Liquid.
What? So,
Liquid po.
yung quantity?
Liquid po.
Milliliters, liters, cubic meters. Those are units of which quantity?
Volume po.
What is it? When we have a graduated cylinder, we are
Volume po.
volume. Very good. So we are calculating or we are measuring the volume of a substance. And then we are also given the density. Ano kayang or derived quantity ang makukuha natin if we have the density and we have the volume as well?
Volume.
Mass.
Mas po.
Mass.
So we can calculate for
Mass.
the mass. So diba, we have density, we have volume, and therefore we can calculate the mass using this density formula. Alright. So I hope that's clear. May question ba? If not, we can move on to number 2.
Wala po.
None.
Alright.
Wala na po.
Next, number 2. Which of the following describes the acceleration and velocity of a stone falling through the air when a stone reaches terminal velocity? What's your answer here?
Letter D po.
Ayan po.
Letter B. Okay.
B.
Let's analyze. First, we have to define what is terminal velocity. Terminal velocity means it is the maximum constant speed of an object. Maximum constant speed. Ibig sabihin, constant, hindi na nagbabago yung speed niya. And that is the highest that an object can go. Or that is the fastest an object can go. Diba? So that's maximum constant velocity. Now, that means kung constant velocity, either A or C na lang yung sagot natin, di ba? Kasi nasabi nga natin na velocity of the stone is a terminal velocity na, that means constant na siya. So either A or C. But, what is the determining factor sa answer natin? When we say constant velocity, hindi na nagbabago yung velocity and that entails zero acceleration or hindi na rin nag-accelerate yung body natin o yung stone.
Hindi po ba na ano ng gravity yun? Hindi bumibilis. Through gravity.
Oh, that's a very good question. Sige, kasi so the answer here is A. The acceleration of the stone is zero and the velocity of the stone constant. Terminal velocity na siya. And then, your question is, di ba accelerating na? That is true, pero in reality, tunay hindi yung perfect situation. Air resistance is a factor. So, since air resistance is a factor, there is a point na hindi na lang gravity yung nag-act on a body during its fall. Diba? So, dahil resistance, nababalance na yung force na nag-acting on a body. So, therefore, it reaches its terminal velocity. Pero, say for example, wala tayong air resistance. Nasa vacuum lang. Tapos, gravity lang yung force acting on the stone. Diba? That is increasing. Correct. But, since nasa tunay na buhay tayo, nasa reality tayo, air resistance should be a factor. Right? Kasi nakalagay, di ba? Velocity of a stone falling through the air. That factor natin yung resistance. Okay tayo doon?
Okay po, thank you po, ma'am.
Oh, you're welcome. Pero another kind of fall, di ba, is free fall. Kapag sinabi nating free fall, then you would be correct. Na magiging increasing siya. But since we have a factor no air resistance, again, it will eventually reach terminal velocity. Therefore, the acceleration will be 0. Alright? So, I hope that's clear. Let's go to number 3. Number 3. On the moon, a coin and a feather was dropped at the same time from the same height. Which of the following statements is correct? First, thought process. First, we have to determine what are the factors that would affect the fall on the moon. Or the fall of the coin and the feather. Sa moon, we have no atmosphere. So, tulad yung kaninang example sa number 2, air resistance will not be an issue. So, for dito sa instance na to, ito yung sinasabi natin that the velocity will always be increasing kasi wala tayong air resistance. Okay? So, having said that, meron tayo, we don't have atmosphere on the moon and air resistance is not an issue. Paano magfo-fall yung coin and feather? May mauuna ba sa kanila? Or sabay lang?
Sabay lang. Sabay po.
Very good. So, sabay lang sila. So, they will fall together. So, either C or D na lang yung pinagpipilian natin. Diba? So, they will fall together. The second factor is gravitational force is weaker on the moon. That means, saan mas mabagal ang free fall? Sa Earth or sa Moon?
Sa moon po.
Moon. Moon po.
Good. So, the pull towards the center of the Moon is weaker, thereby, mas mabilis or mas mabagal?
Mas mabagal po.
Mabagal po.
Mabagal po.
So, the is letter C. They fall together, but both take longer time than on Earth. Alright? Question, guys?
Nan po. Nan po.
Number 4. The cable of a crane is used to lift a load of mass 500 kilograms and weight 5,000 Newton. The cable exerts a force of 7,500 Newton on the load. What is the acceleration of the load? So first, guys, when we are solving problems like this involving forces, first thing we need to do is to draw the situation. So this is the object. Our object weighs 5,000 Newton. So, ano siya? Downward or upward force? The weight?
Downward po.
Nice.
Above.
Downward force. And the cable exerts a force of 7,500 Newton. Is it downward or upward?
Upward po.
Alright, so yung cable natin will exert an upward force. And then, since pareho silang vertical forces, we can get the resultant force agad by subtracting 5,000 Newton, subtracting 7,500 Newton and 5,000 Newton. Now we have the resultant force acting on the load, which is 2,500 Newton. Alright? But the question here is, what is the acceleration of the load? Now, to solve this, what formula are we going to use?
Divide by 5.
Divided
500.
by 5. Let's see. Alright, so from the original equation, we have force is equal to mass times the acceleration. Solving for A, or the acceleration, we will have it divided by the mass. And
Okay.
alright? Clear tayo dito sa number 4?
Okay po, ma'am.
Okay,
Okay na
I have
po.
a question here. Paano po malalaman kung upward or downward? Okay, so first, weight is always downward kasi it's a pull of the gravity towards the earth, di ba? So, kaya lagi siyang downward. Kapag ka naman upward, actually it depends sa problem. Dito, sabi, di ba, a cable exerts a force on the load. So, since it is a crane, we know na upward yung pull ng cable. So, upward din yung force. Okay? So, again, to answer the question, paano mo malalaman kung upward or downward yung force? Titignan mo sa situation. Titignan mo doon sa problem. Alright? Next. What is the resultant force acting on the object as shown in the image? What's your answer here? So, thought process. Since we have two vectors on the vertical axis, we can get the resultant force agad, di ba? So, getting the resultant force on the vertical axis, we just have to subtract 8 newtons and 5 newtons. Again, we subtract it kasi different sila ng direction. Okay?
Ganun.
Yes, ganon. Okay? And we also take note of the horizontal force. Since wala naman tayong ibang vector on the horizontal force, we just take the horizontal force 4 Newton. Okay? Now, how can we get the resultant force? Okay? Actually, in this question, there are different ways to solve for the resultant force. You can either add using the vector addition method, itong lahat ng tatlong to, or we can use the parallelogram method since na-reduce na natin yung vector forces into 2 na lang. Okay? So, write it this way, 3 newtons upward, kasi yun yung vertical resultant force natin, and 4 newtons going to the right. Kasi yun yung vertical force natin dito sa image, sa original image natin. Now, how to draw the parallelogram or how to get the resultant force using the parallelogram method. So again, first, you draw the 2 vector forces. Next is, you have to trace yung horizontal force natin from the top. Kumbaga, gagawa lang tayo dito ng parallelogram. Iko-close lang natin yung loops. So, horizontal, mag-drawing tayo on top. So, dapat 4 newtons rin. And dito, 3 newtons sa vertical. So, kung mapapansin nyo, we were able to draw a parallelogram. Alright? Next, how to solve for the resultant force, kailangan lang nating i-calculate itong diagonal na to.
Ang gagamitin po yung Pythagorean theorem.
Very good. That's very, very good. So we are going to use the Pythagorean theorem 3, 4, 5. So the answer is 5 Newton. Okay? You can either use the Pythagorean theorem, yung c squared equals b squared plus b squared. Or tandaan yung Pythagorean triples, 3, 4, 5. Always 5 yung hypotenuse if you have 3 and 4 as the length of the legs of your right triangle. Okay? Number 6. So number 6, let's go to this. A weight of A person of weight 600 Newton at the bottom of Mount Makiling wants to climb the highest peak of the mountain. Along the way, he got tired and opted to rest. The gravitation field strength changed from 9.81 Newton per kilogram at the bottom of the mountain to 9.79 Newton per kilogram at his resting area. Now, the question is, what are his what are his mass and his weight while he is resting? So first thing we need to do here is to determine what is the mass of the person at the bottom of Mount Makiling.
600.
So take note natin na what are the given values that we have that can give us the mass of a person. This is weight, 600 Newton. Diba, ano ba ang unit ng mass? The unit of mass is not Newton, definitely.
Grams, kilograms.
Kilograms, correct. So we use kilograms. We can calculate that from using mass equals weight of the person divided by the gravitational constant, 600 over 9.81. Right? So the mass of the person is 61.2 kilogram. So dito, nakalculate na natin yung mass. Alright? Now, the next question is, what is his weight while he is resting? So, titingnan natin, ano yung weight niya? Original weight is 600 newtons, di ba? Pero, syempre, umaakyat na siya sa Mount Makiling. Pag umakyat na siya or he is at a higher position, bumababa na yung gravitational field strength, which, sabi nga dito sa problem natin, naging 9.79 newtons na lang. So, how do we calculate for the weight? So, we can calculate the weight using this formula. Rearrange lang natin itong formula na to. And we can calculate weight mass and the gravitational constant, 9.79. Okay? So, the answer is 599 Newton. Okay? Okay. So, guys, bakit hindi na tong C at D yung answer natin? Definitely.
61.2 kilogram po kasi yung...
Nakuha na po natin saan?
Sa mass, alright.
Nakuha na po natin.
Very good. So, take note lang ha, weight, yung weight, lagi siyang nagbabago depending on your place dun sa, or depending on your height. So, depending on the gravitational field strength. Pero, sa mass, kahit gano'ng kataas or kahit gano'ng kababa, or anywhere else you are in the universe, hindi magbabago yung mass mo. It's always 61.2 kilograms. So, definitely, strike off na natin yung C and D dito. Alright? So, now what's the answer?
Hey.
Right? You have a question? Ipopost po ba yung recording nito sa Tala? Nagloloko po Wi-Fi namin. Yes. I will try to upload it in our YouTube channel. Okay, so wait lang kayo. Number 7. Next. A spherical water container with a diameter of 2 meters is completely filled with a liquid of density 800 kilograms per cubic meter, as shown in this image. If the gravitational field strength is 10 Newton per kilogram, what is the pressure due to the liquid at point X? So, ang tinatanong lang talaga sa atin dito is, ano daw yung pressure at this point X. How do we solve for this? We have the density of the liquid. We also have the gravitational field strength or gravitational constant that is acting on point X. So to solve for this, we use this formula. Pressure is equal to density of the liquid times gravitational constant times the height. Right? And yung height natin, syempre, yung diameter natin, which is 2 meters. Alright? So pressure would be equal to rho GH, and solving for that, we will have 16,000 Pascal. Alright? Okay ba? Okay pa tayo?
Opo.
Okay.
Okay po.
On. Ito, the bonus question in this batch of questions. Which surface is the best absorber of heat? So, what's your answer here?
A po.
A dull black. So, we know that dark surfaces are generally good absorbers of radiation. Bakit hindi shiny black yung answer natin?
Magre-reflect.
Magre-reflect lang po. Magre-reflect.
Very good. Although may ma-absorb pa rin siya na heat, pero it's not as absorptive as dull black. Kasi pag shiny, meron pa rin siyang nare-reflect na radiation somehow. Okay? Let's move on to number 9. Okay. Number 9. This is under optics. Given the figure below, through which angle does the direction of the ray of light change? Again, given tong figure na to, the question is, through which angle does the direction of light change? In short, or in Filipino, ano daw ang difference ng ray nito? Ano yung angle na napo-form from the original incident ray at saka nung reflected ray? How do we solve for that?
Obvious.
So again, ito kinocompute natin. Original path of light to the reflected ray. Diba? Are we able to know itong angle na to?
Opo.
Anong angle na to? Ano yung angle nito? This is the reflected ray. So, from normal to reflected ray, ang angle is?
30.
Ano kaya?
Di po ba?
40 degrees po.
40
40 degrees din.
Nice. Very good. So, it's also
Mm.
40 degrees. Kasi nga, di ba, from our law of reflection, it says that when a ray of light reflects off a surface, the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. So again, this is the angle of incidence, normal to incident ray, and then their angle of reflection is normal to reflected ray. Alright? So ngayon, meron na tayo nitong dalawang angles na to. Is it possible for us to calculate for this angle? Possible na ba? Sige. Remember, kapag meron tayong straight line, diba? Pag may straight line tayo, ano yung sum ng, ano yung angle dito?
180.
180.
180.
So we have 180. Therefore, kung isosolve natin to, we just have to subtract 180 minus 40 minus 40. Therefore, the answer would be
100.
100.
100. Nice. So, do you have question regarding this item?
Wala.
Wala
None
po.
po.
Yan. Ma'am, tumama din ako.
Nice. Very good. Nice. Number 10. Tingnan natin. Tama. Ang dami mong laki ng tama mo. Okay, number 10. An observer hears a clap of thunder 2 seconds after seeing the light. Or again, take 2. An observer hears a clap of thunder 2 seconds after seeing the flash of light. The speed of sound in air is 320 meters per second. How far from the observer was the lightning? Possible ba siya or what? One thing that we have to take note for this item is the thunder generated is generated at the same time as the lightning. So sabay lang talaga siya. Doon sa original point niya, sabay lang talaga silang na-produce. But, bakit mas mabilis mong makikita yung lightning kaysa sa thunder? What is the factor? Bakit mas nauuna natin nakikita yung lightning kaysa sa thunder?
Yung speed of light po.
No. Okay, that's correct. The speed of light is faster than the speed of sound in air. So the speed of sound in air is 320 meters per second, right? So paano kaya natin ito isosolve? We are given the time, 2 seconds, and the speed of thunder, 320 meters per second. To calculate the distance between you tsaka dun sa original location ng thunder, how do we solve?
X times.
Multiply po.
Nice. So if we use this formula, distance is equal to speed of sound times the time you saw the, or time you heard the thunder. So the answer here is 640 meters. Okay ba tayo dyan?
Aba.
Tumama ulit, ma'am. Yes!
Nice. Bakit na talaga ng tama mo? May tama ka. Okay. Number 11. So matatapos na tayo. Nasa third part na tayo ng questions. Number 11. Given the speed time graph of the car, what is the distance traveled at 4 seconds? How do we solve this? First, we have to identify what is the speed of the car at 4 seconds. So, let's see. Ito yung 4 seconds time or 4 second time mark. How do we know yung speed using this graph? So, we just need to see saan ba nag-i-intersect yung line. So, dito 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Dito tayo sa 26. That means, at 4 seconds, the speed of the car is 26 meters per second. And, tulad ng problem kanina, we know the time, we know the speed, therefore we can also calculate for the distance, which is 104 meters. Okay?
Aba.
Next problem. Next problem, we are given the same graph, but this time we are asked to calculate for the acceleration. So remember, acceleration is the rate of change of speed. So, paano natin siya ma-calculate? First, syempre dapat alam natin yung formula for acceleration, which is final speed minus initial speed divided by the total time. So, let's just substitute the formulas from this graph. So again, the final speed is 30. Ito siya, di ba? 30 meters per second. And the initial speed natin is 10 meters per second. So dito siya, final speed 30 minus initial speed 10. Divide natin by 5 because in the graph it showed that 5 seconds yung nag-lapse from the initial to the final speed. Okay? And solving for this, we will have 4 meters per second square as our answer. Okay ba tayo dyan?
Okay po.
Nice, nice. Okay. Number 13. Number 13, which changes of state occur as a result of removal of energy? So when we are removing thermal energy, ibig sabihin, sorry for that. Anong mga process yung yung involved doon? Say gas. When we remove thermal energy from a gas, ano yung magiging phase niya? Gas.
O-condense po.
Correct. We will condense or from gas magiging liquid. And yung liquid, further, you remove thermal energy, ano nang mangyayari sa kanya?
Being solid.
It will solidify. Very good. So the answer here is letter D. Condensation and solidification will happen when you remove thermal energy. Okay, so I think number 14 na tayo. Number 14, this is involving electrical energy naman. So their question reads, a 240-volt electrical appliance is used for 5 minutes. The current in the appliance is 4 amperes. How much electrical energy is used? First, nice. All right. Thought process, of course. We should know how to calculate for the electrical energy. Kasi yun nga yung hinahanap natin, di ba? So, electrical energy is equal to power times the time. Pero, take note always when you are calculating or when you are solving this kind of problem, always be mindful of the units no time. Dapat, yung time mo will always be seconds. Okay? So, dapat i-convert natin T equals 5 minutes into seconds, which is equal to 300 seconds.
Rule po yun, ma'am, laging transpose to seconds.
Lagi natin siyang i-convert into seconds. Yes. Especially kung meron kang ampere as your unit ng current. Okay?
Okay
So,
po.
lagi yan, seconds. So, kayong malilito, baka magamit niyo yung 5, tapos hindi niyo na siya ma-convert. So, definitely, magiging mali na yung answer natin. Okay? Now, wala tayong power, pero meron tayong time. Saan natin makukuha yung power? Power is equal to the product of the voltage and the current. So, finally, yung formula natin will be like this. Electrical energy consumed is equal to I times V times T. Right? So, just solving, you will have 288,000 joules. Question?
None po.
Saan yung sagot dyan dito? Anong letter po?
Hulaan nyo. Anong sagot?
Mas malapit.
So, the answer here would be letter D, 290,000 joules.
Round up, ma'am, round up.
Yes, round off. Another thing you have to take note is yung significant figures. Kasi di ba dito sa problem, yung lowest significant figure natin is 2. So, si answer natin dapat 2 significant figures din.
Yay! Mali ako. Joke lang.
Okay ba yan? So, let's
Okay
go
po.
to 15, our last question. Bye, guys. You're na finish soon. Alright, so sige. Punta na tayo sa number 15. Number 15. Which combination has a resistance of 6 ohms? Okay. Guys, please take note of this. This is a universal fact. Or this is a mathematical fact then. If 2 identical resistors are connected in parallel, the effective resistance is half the resistance of the resistor. Parang ano yun parang twister. Again, if two identical resistors are connected in parallel, the effective resistance is half the resistance of the resistor. Example. For example, itong letter D, di ba? Meron tayong parallel circuit, tapos identical na 4 ohms yung dalawa nating resistors. Therefore, yung resistance ng buong circuit na to would be the half of 4, which is 2 ohms. Yes, so, but take note, this is applicable only if you have two identical resistors. Kapag 3 na dito, hindi na siya applicable. Okay?
Ma'am, di ba may positive and negative siya?
No. Kapag ka-resistors tayo, dito lang tayo sa given natin. How do we solve for, How do we solve for the total resistance in a parallel circuit? If you remember, this is the formula. Tingin tayo dito. Diba? 1 over RT is equal to 1 over R plus 1 over R2 ... If you remember that, yung sum na reciprocal ng mga resistors. Diba? That's how we calculate for the reciprocal of total resistance. Right? So, solving 1 over RT is equal to 1 over 4. 1 over 4, it will give you 2 quarters or 2/4. Okay. Ito na ba yung final answer natin, yung total resistance nito? 2/4 na ba yung total resistance?
Pwede pa pong
No
isimplify.
po.
No, Western.
So, kailangan pa natin kunin yung reciprocal ng 2 quarters para makuha talaga natin yung resistance, total resistance ng parallel circuit, which is 2. Okay? So, diba? Nagpa-follow siya doon sa fact na sinabi ko kanina. Kapag may identical resistors ka na connected or two identical resistors connected in a parallel circuit, ang effective resistance ng parallel circuit na yon would be half of the resistor. Okay? Half the resistance of the resistor. Okay ba tayo doon? So, mathematically, tignan nyo yung solution. Sige, magbigay pa ako ng isang example, ha? For example, hindi to 4. Kunwari, hindi to 4. 8. Identical pa rin sila, pero 8 na yung resistance. Tignan natin, how? Tignan natin, 1 over RT is equal to 1 over 8. 8.
Magiging 4.
Kung yung total resistance, magiging
4 po.
4. Diba? So, lagi yan. Kapag meron kang two identical resistors, yung total resistor niya, total resistance niya in a parallel circuit would be half of one resistance of the resistor. Okay tayo doon?
Opo.
Alright. So, again, kung 2 ohms tong parallel circuit na to, tapos ito 4 ohms, kailangan lang natin siyang i-add and we will get 6 ohms. So, ang sagot dito sa number 15 ay letter B.
Dog.
May question ba tayo dito, right? Sige, as a bonus, i-calculate naman natin yung total resistance ng bawat letters. Okay ba yun? Dito, sa letter A, we have a series circuit. In a series circuit, ang gagawin lang natin to solve for the total resistance is how? How do we solve?
Add
Add.
Add po.
Very good. May tama ka. So, that would be 12 ohms. Right? So, that of the effective resistance in letter A is 12 ohms. Clear tayo dyan, ha?
Opo.
Sa letter B, kailangan natin kunin yung effective resistance ng parallel circuit. Lahat sila connected in parallel, di ba? So, paano yun? we calculate
3.
1 over total resistance ng B equals 1 over 4 plus 1 over 4 plus 1 over 4. Clear ba tayo? Paano natin nakuha itong tatlong 1/4 na to?
Opo.
Nice. Very good. Very good students. So, how to solve? Hindi ko natuturo how to solve to add the fractions ha.
Add, parehas po yung denominator.
Yan. So, we have the reciprocal of the total resistance equal to 3/4. Ito na ba yung final answer natin?
Reciprocal po.
May 1 over 1/2. 1/4.
So, kailangan pa natin kunin yung reciprocal ng 3/4 para makuha yung total or effective resistance ng letter B natin. Which should be 4/3 ohms. Okay? Question? Question tayo dyan? Wala na.
Hindi naman may change ng whole number kasi yung proper fraction.
Oh, okay. In that case, titignan nyo lang. Kasi dito, sinasolve lang natin siya for the purpose of solving. So, it doesn't matter to me kung decimal or fraction yung sagot nyo. But, in the actual exam, syempre, titignan nyo yung options. Kung fraction yung option, then okay. Kung decimal, titignan nyo yung closest answer. And take note
Okay.
mo, ano yung take note natin? Take note nyo rin yung significant figures. Okay? Okay tayo sa letter
Okay
C.
po.
Paano naman tong letter C? Sa letter C, meron na tayong combined series at saka parallel circuit. First, kunin muna natin tong series. Ano yung effective resistance nitong resistors na series circuit?
2.
po.
Again, these two, 4 ohms at saka 4 ohms, they are connected in series, ba?
8 po. 8.
Nice.
Add. Pag-add po. Pag-add. 8 po. 8. Pag-add.
Nice. So, don't forget that. Kapag series, nasa parallel circuit siya. Pero kasi, itong 2 resistors na to, they are connected in series. So, kailangan lang natin siyang i-add. Okay ba yan? And then, tsaka natin i-add yung formula na to. Kasi, meron na tayong parallel circuit dito. Okay ba yun? So, 1 over total resistance ng C is equal to 1 over 8. 1 over 8 ha? Kasi ito na yung kinuha natin eh, di ba?
1 over 4.
Opo.
1 over 4.
Plus 1 over
1 over
1 over 4. 1 over 4.
So, again,
Find the LCD.
hindi ko na ituturo paano mag-add ng fractions ha. So, that would be 1 plus equals 3 over 8. Pero ito na ba yung answer? Ito na ba yung
Reciprocal po.
Hindi pa po. Reciprocal po.
Reciprocal po.
Very good student.
Reciprocal po.
Kunin natin yung reciprocal. 8 over 3. Okay?
Okay po.
Okay po.
So that's
Okay
the
po.
question. Guys, again, please like Tala kung hindi pa kayo nakaka-like sa Tala kasi i-upload ko yung slides. Itong slides na to sa Tala. And
Okay po.
subscribe to yung YouTube channel. May pa-YouTube channel tayo dyan. Okay?
Opo,
I-upload ko
ma'am.
rin kasi itong video natin sa YouTube. Alright?